Welcome back to the farm. Like I said yesterday, this is going to be a very exciting week. Stage one is I have house guests coming today. They're not going to get here until early evening, 7, 8 o'clock. But I've got a lot of things around the house that I need to get done before they get here. And some things out in the garden. Stuff that I need to get done to make them comfortable, but also stuff that I need to get done so that I can give them my attention. So we're going to just pick away at some of it. What I'm going to do this morning while I'm working is I have a bunch of cherry tomatoes that I want to turn into tomato jam. So let's get that on the stove. And that's that. Now we've got to bring it to a boil and then turn it down to a simmer, and we're just going to cook it down. It takes a long time, like an hour and a half, 2 hours, to cook all the water out of it and get it nice and thick. This is a really flexible recipe. You could use any kind of tomatoes for it. I prefer using cherry tomatoes because they're a bit sweeter and the skins are thinner, so I don't have to skin them. I just cook them with the skins on. You could use slicing tomatoes. You'd probably want to skin those, but you literally can use any kind of tomato for this. And the recipe I found didn't include onion, but I wanted a little bit of that oniony sweetness in it, so I put an onion in there. I put a handful of basil. I have a really good, thick balsamic vinegar that I get from a place down in Philly. It's almost like molasses. It's so thick, and I just love the sweetness from that. So I added a couple of tablespoons of that. The recipe called for 2 cups of sugar. I only had 1, so I just substituted the white sugar. I've seen recipes. I put cumin in mine and cinnamon. I've seen recipes that have coriander, that have red pepper flake. I don't like spicy, so I didn't go with any of those. So you can mix this up however you want. The basic recipe is 5 pounds of tomatoes, a tablespoon of grated ginger, 2 cups of sugar, a half cup of apple cider vinegar, a tablespoon of cinnamon, 2 teaspoons of cumin, and 2 teaspoons of salt. That's it. Very basic recipe. And like I said, you can add anything to that you want to kind of make it your own. So this is on the stove. I'm heating it up, getting it boiling, and then I'll turn it down and we'll keep an eye on it because I don't want it to burn. So, and this stove is really good at burning stuff. That made 2 half pints and 5 quarter pints. So just enough for my fair entry for next year and to have a little bit for gift giving and to have in the pantry. I may do another batch just because I'd like to have a couple more half pints. I prefer tomato jam to ketchup, except on meatloaf is the only thing I really like, and corned beef hash. I will use ketchup on those 2 things. But anything else, I much prefer to have a tomato jam. So I'm glad to have this put up. As I have said many times, planning is everything. The plan is nothing. And unfortunately, my friends' plans have blown up on the side of the road as they blew a tire on their truck and haven't been able to get a replacement tire. So they have to order them in, so they're going to have to stay where the truck is for the next 2 days while they wait for that to come in. So all my plans for getting all this stuff done today in a hurry have gone by the wayside, and I can chill out a little bit. So we'll probably go out and do a little garden work once I get off work tonight. All right, so that gets some of the fall garden planted. On this bed, I put in red Russian kale and rainbow chard and a row of bok choy and then 2 rows of spinach. And this end, I just took the whole package. I'd gotten a seed, a salad blend. It's called Ultimate Salad Bowl from Hudson Valley Seed Company. And I just scattered the whole packet through here. I've had such bad luck with germination this season that I just wanted to make sure something came up. And that's fine, because then as I need to thin it, I can just make a salad out of what I thin. And then this bed on this side, I need to harvest the celery, but I'm not ready to do that today. So I cleaned out this end and I've put green beans in here. And then once I harvest the celery, which I will need to do in the next couple of days because it's starting to open up too much. Once I get that harvested, then I'm going to plant the rest with a sprouting broccoli and some more cabbages and see if we can get some more storage cabbages out of this. Couple more next weekend, or this coming weekend, I'm going to take out, let me see if I can show you. I'm going to take out all the peas. And I'm going to give those to the chickens as part of the next compost ring. And then I'm going to try and plant one set of late season peas. I don't know if I'll get anything out of them, but I'm going to give it a shot. And this grass pile here, I need to pull that back and scatter carrot seeds. And again, carrots have a really long germination time and they can be very finicky. So I think I'm just going to take the entire packet and just scatter it and rake it in lightly, water it down good, and hope for the best. The beets, I don't know if you can see it because they're still very tiny, but the beets are just finally starting to come up. So that's a good sign, and hopefully I'll get some beets out of this. That, I think, is the bulk of the winter garden, or the fall garden. The greens bed with the chard and the kale, I am going to put the hoop house on and see how much of that I can get to last as long as I can into the winter. They won't overwinter, although the kale and the chard might, if it's got that much, just enough protection, depending on how harsh the winter is. So it'd be nice to have some fresh greens over the course of the winter. It's still too early to plant the garlic. In fact, my garlic hasn't even shipped yet. But I do need to get those potatoes out because they are ready to go. But I'm kind of saving that for when my friends come, because supposedly that's the most fun job you can do in the garden. And I don't want to deprive them of the opportunity to experience it. So we'll leave those alone for a couple of days. Thursday, Friday, we'll get those out of the ground depending on the weather. I think that's going to do it for me for tonight. So thank you for coming along. And I hope you come back tomorrow and see what we get up to next. And welcome back to the farm. I needed to get space in the car for something I'm going to pick up tomorrow, so I needed to get this table out, which I picked up over the weekend, I think. I need a table at the end of my island in the kitchen just to have that little extra storage space. And I love this table, but it needs a little work. So I brought it out here to the shed because I want this to end up being my workspace instead of in the basement. So I just have to start bringing the tools out to be able to do it. I don't think this is going to be hard. The base is screwed onto the top, so I think I just need to unscrew it, re-glue everything, and then screw it back in. And I'm hoping that's going to stiffen it up enough that it'll stop this wobble. And then just give it a good sand and a new layer of polyurethane, and it should be good to go. But that is not the major project today. Today's project is something that I have been putting off for a while because I couldn't justify it. But today seems like the perfect day because I don't have much going on. And it's a beautiful, not windy day. So let's go fly a drone. Doing with the drone is I want to get some overhead shots of the trees on the property, especially along the edges here. I know I have a lot of apple trees on the property, but I don't know exactly where they are. I don't know how many there are, and I don't know what sort of varieties. I'm not going to be able to identify specific varieties, I don't think. I may share some pictures with you and see if any of you are able to identify them, but for the most part, they're most likely wild apples from trees that were on the property over time. This beautiful thing here was once an apple tree, and in fact, I can go on Google Maps and look at the property, and the pictures are so out of date. This tree is in beautiful full leaf. So it's just been in the last 10 to 15 years that this has died. But I know I've got an apple tree there, an apple tree there. This is an apple tree. I think that is an apple tree. And I just want to put pins on a map and be able to say, these are where all my apple trees are. So I'm gonna go back up here and get a not so zoomed out picture. I've got a very zoomed out shot that goes from the road. It doesn't go quite high enough to get the far edge of the property, so I've got a separate picture for that. And then I'm just going to put them all together, and on another day I'll come out here with the pieces of paper, printed out maps, and my GPS, and drop pins on the GPS saying where there's an apple tree, and on my map I'll make notes of whatever I'm able to identify. So let's go around and get some more pictures. I noticed something very interesting as I was coming down for a landing out near the lower half of the back pasture. The drone was getting attacked by bees. I think it must have gotten in their return to hive route, and they didn't know what it was, so they were taking shots at it. So, in fact, I think you can see a little bit of bee gut on there, maybe. So, I'm really sorry, little bees. I didn't even think about that. So, all right, I'm going to get a couple of shots from the lower pasture, and then we'll be done with the drone. So we'll take those inside and get them downloaded and see what I can manage as far as printouts go. I'm hoping that by putting those images together with Gaia maps and dropping pins along a walking route, and I'll just kind of walk that circuit, I'll be able to start identifying what apple trees I have on the property. And I also need to figure out what other trees I have. So from some of those overhead shots, I could see some dead trees out there. And I'd like to get those marked so I can think about taking those down for firewood. And just to think about, where are my maple trees if I want to tap maple in the spring, or are there any other fruit trees out there that I don't know about? I still haven't checked out those service berries that we saw in the spring. So I need to figure out where those are and get those marked. So this is going to be an ongoing project over the next probably 2 months before the trees start dropping all their leaves. But getting the drone shots is going to be a good start for that. And I'll be happy to see what those look like. And I hope you enjoyed seeing some views of the property from overhead and how different it looked from the spring. I've got to put together a then and now video of the drone footage I took in April versus what everything looks like now. And yes, I do know that there is an elephant in the room that I have not spoken about, but we will be talking about that in the next couple of days. So stick around. Have a great night, and I hope you'll come back to see what we're getting up to next.